You're watching a Highwire Media podcast. Our case begins on the morning of April 10th, 2001. We are actually in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Scottsdale, Arizona. Neighbors in the area are starting their morning just like any other morning when a sudden loud bang comes from outside. It was around 8:40 a.m. and the neighborhood is stunned. This wasn't a car door slamming or even a gunshot. This noise was louder than that. Neighbors from up and down the street rush outside to figure out what is happening. The answer to that question was hard to miss. A house sat snugly in the middle of the neighborhood was up in flames. Huge flames. It took a minute for everyone to figure it out to wrap their minds around it. That big bang they had heard had been an explosion. The house in the middle of the neighborhood just exploded and now was threatening to spread. Neighbors immediately called 911 about the explosion. It had been strong enough that it collapsed the entire front brick wall of the home and rattled the frames of neighbors' houses for about half a mile in each direction. And I know if you're not watching right now, you're kind of just like, oh, a house is on fire. Not just a normal house fire. It's like the whole house is up in flames. It's coming out of the roof, and the roof is collapsed. And the worst part of this is a family neighborhood. All the neighbors watch and panic because they know the family that lives in that house. The Fisher family. Husband Robert Fisher, wife Mary Fisher, and their two children, Brittany and Bobby. The morning time, so all hopes that this family isn't inside of the burning house is kind of low because it's morning. Families are at home in the morning, but as one neighbor tells the 911 operator, they are almost sure the family is inside, or at least was. Because based on the state of the house and the state of these flames, that family is most likely not alive anymore if they are in there. Firefighters rushed toward the scene. Neighbors tried using garden hoses to keep the flames under control. Not only was it not helping, it was also extremely dangerous to be that close to the burning fire. Luckily, firefighters arrived quickly enough that they were able to take over and keep the now 20-foot high flames from spreading into other houses. So none of the other houses caught fire because firefighters managed to arrive fast enough and were able to contain it, which is pretty crazy. And as you're probably thinking about right now, like everyone in the neighborhood, the neighbors are looking at these firefighters like, you have to get in there. You have to save the Fishers. Everyone was almost sure the family was inside. But firefighters couldn't immediately go into the house because as they arrived, there was a series of smaller secondary explosions happening. This could be from anything inside of the house, paint cans, ammunition, or anything flammable. It could even be causing more explosions. Firefighters at this point were even asking themselves, is this a bomb? Are there more bombs going off? Whatever it was, it forced rescue teams to keep their distance, leaving everyone else to stand helpless in the street. The family's home burned away, possibly with the family inside. Eventually, firefighters were able to get the flames under control, and rescue teams were finally able to make their way in. They called out for the Fishers, filming the mess for anyone, but as they had feared, there was no one inside the house to successfully rescue. No one was found alive in the Fisher home that dreadful morning. What they did find were the burned bodies of a woman and two children. Those bodies were later identified as 38-year-old Mary Fisher, 12-year-old Brittany Fisher, and 10-year-old Bobby Fisher. Police immediately began wondering why Robert Fisher wasn't accounted for. Was he also dead in the house? They just hadn't found him in the rubble yet? Was he out of town on business? The entire neighborhood was shaken, and there were so many unanswered questions. All this confusion about Robert Fisher quickly turned into fear when it was officially confirmed that Mary, Brittany, and Bobby had not died in the explosion or fire. At this point, the case had officially turned to something everyone was hoping it wouldn't be. Police feared they now had another family annihilator on their hands, another husband and father who kills his entire family, either runs away or attempts to take his own life. They needed to find Robert Fisher immediately. The search for answers began as crime scene investigators sifted through every piece of ash on the property. At the same time, police were reaching out to Robert Fisher, via the media. They pleaded with him to come home. His family begged him to come forward. Even Mary's family was telling police that they didn't think Robert would have done this. They said, quote, "We know the relationship wasn't perfect, but we really don't think Robert would have killed his family." Some of them even theorized that maybe an attacker had come into the home, killed Mary and the kids, and kidnapped Robert. Investigators also discovered something horrifying. The gas line to the back of the house's furnace had been pulled. Yeah, the gas line had been pulled, The accumulating gas was later ignited by a lit candle inside the house. This discovery led to the daunting conclusion that if Robert did this, he pulled the gas line, lit the candle, and then waited for enough gas to accumulate. Once the gas reached the flame, it would cause the explosion. Hey everyone, welcome back. Hopefully you had a good Christmas. But today I want to seriously talk about online security, an issue that affects every single one of us. You ever feel like there's someone looking over your shoulder every time you're browsing, streaming, or just checking your email? It's more common than you think. And that's exactly why I'm excited to tell you about NordVPN. With NordVPN, you can say goodbye to those sketchy pop-ups and shady trackers following your every move. Instead, imagine having a digital fortress around your data. Banking transactions, passwords, and even private chats remain, well, private. NordVPN uses the next level encryption, which basically means your data is locked away behind a secure wall. So if nosy neighbors, big tech companies, or even your internet service provider tries to peek, they'll hit a dead end. And here's the really cool part. With one click, you can instantly change your virtual location. Travel virtually to another country, skip those annoying geo restrictions, and stream that exclusive show from Europe, Asia, or anywhere else. In other words, if you've been itching to watch a series that's not available in your region, NordVPN just opened the door for you. Now let's talk about the deal. It's a big one. Right now you can grab 72% off your NordVPN subscription. Yes, 72% off. As if that wasn't sweet enough, they're also throwing in an additional 3 free months. That means you're scoring total online protection for a fraction of the normal cost, with 3 extra months totally on the house. This is the kind of offer that doesn't come around often. Setting up NordVPN is ridiculously easy. Just download the app on your phone, laptop, even your TV. Log in and boom, your internet traffic is automatically encrypted. No more complicated settings to fiddle with. Just press connect, pick a server, and you're good to go. It's that simple. Protect your data, hide your IP, and keep hackers at bay, all while enjoying lightning fast speeds for streaming, gaming, or just scrolling through social media. So why wait? Click the link and head over to NordVPN right now to snag that sweet 72% off deal plus those 3 free months. Your future self will thank you when you realize just how easy and stress-free secure browsing can be. And that's all for today. Stay safe online with NordVPN. And now on to the rest of today's episode. Investigators theorized that the murders of Mary, Brittany, and Bobby took place the night before the explosion. This was because for the house to fill up with gas, enough time would have had to pass for the gas to accumulate to a dangerous level. Later, police found something crucial: ATM footage of Robert Fisher. The footage showed Robert Fisher at an ATM at 10:43 p.m. on the night of April 9, 2001, after police believed he killed his family. In the video, Robert was seen withdrawing $280 from his account. He was driving Mary's Toyota 4Runner, which police later confirmed was missing from the home. As investigators pieced everything together, they began to form a theory. They believed Robert Fisher murdered his family because he felt threatened by Mary's intention to divorce him. Police believe Robert was terrified of losing his family. As we discussed earlier, his parents' divorce deeply traumatized him, and he often blamed his mother for abandoning the family. On April 20th, 2001, 6 days after the explosion, Mary's missing Toyota 4Runner was found in the Tonto National Forest, about 100 miles north of Scottsdale, near the towns of Young and Payson, Arizona. The family dog, Blue, was found alive under the vehicle. He was agitated and hungry. Inside the vehicle, police found an Oakland Raiders hat identical to the one Robert was wearing in the ATM footage. When police discovered Mary's Toyota in the Tonto National Forest, it raised more questions than answers. The location where the car was abandoned was remote, surrounded by rugged terrain and dotted with a network of caves. Investigators noted that several large caves were located near where the vehicle was found. Some of these caves formed a complex underground network that stretched for miles beneath the surface. Experts and local cavers suggested that Robert Fisher, an avid outdoorsman, hunter, and survivalist, could have potentially used these caves as a hiding place before escaping further into the wilderness. However, despite the intense search that followed, no sign of Robert Fisher was ever found in the caves. One thing that frustrated many people is that at the time of the search, police reportedly only searched one of the major caves in the area. They searched one large cave but didn't really or the others due to safety concerns and the sheer size of the cave system. So there's a chance he could have been hiding in the caves the whole time. And here's another strange detail. A pile of human excrement was found near the passenger door of the vehicle, which suggested someone had been camping out near the car for at least a short period of time. Adding to the mystery, a couple reported seeing a man who resembled Robert Fisher walking along a nearby road, possibly hitchhiking. But this sighting wasn't reported until after the Toyota was found, and by then, it was too late to follow up on the lead. After finding the Toyota 4Runner, police widened their search and began considering other possibilities. Could Robert have left the forest altogether? Could he have crossed into Mexico, which was just a few hours south? One area of interest was the nearby Fort Apache Indian Reservation, which was less than a mile from where the vehicle was discovered. However, because the land was on a reservation, police were not able to search it thoroughly without permission, leaving another potential lead unexplored. By this point, the case had garnered national attention. Robert Fisher had officially been named the only suspect in the murders of Mary, Brittany, and Bobby. Massive manhunt was underway. On June 29, 2002, more than a year after the murders, Robert William Fisher was officially added to the FBI's top 10 most wanted fugitives list. To give you an idea how big this case had become, being placed on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list is a huge deal. It means that Robert was considered one of the most dangerous and high priority fugitives in the country. As the years went by, theories about Robert Fisher's escape began to circulate. Some people believe that Robert had been planning this for months, maybe even years. There were reports that Robert had been withdrawing small amounts of cash over time, stockpiling supplies, which would have made it easier for him to disappear without a trace. Many experts believe Robert initially fled to the forest to hide, knowing it was an area he was familiar with and could navigate easily. But after lying low for a while, he may have assumed a new identity and blended back into society. And here's the thing. People who knew Robert described him as someone who was extremely private and standoffish, which would have made it easier for him to live off the grid or go unnoticed in a new town. Another theory is that Robert crossed the border into Mexico, where he could have started a new life. However, there's no evidence to confirm this, and his trail essentially goes cold after the Toyota was found. Over the years, there has been several reported sightings of Robert Fisher, but none have ever been confirmed. One of the most notable incidents happened in 2004, 3 years after the murders, when a man resembling Robert Fisher was found in Vancouver, Canada. Royal Canadian Mounted Police arrested a man who looked almost identical to Robert. Here's the crazy part. The man had a missing tooth in the same place where Robert had a gold crown, which the FBI publicized as a key identifying feature. And he even had a scar on his back that matched the description of a scar Robert had from surgery. But when the man's fingerprints were taken, they didn't match Robert Fisher's. The man was eventually cleared, and investigators determined he wasn't Robert Fisher. Imagine being that guy, though, just living your life, and suddenly the police think you're one of the FBI's most wanted fugitives. In April 2016, 15 years after the murders, the FBI released new age progressed photos of Robert Fisher to show what he might look like now, which you can see, of course, right up there. These photos are still available online, and we'll post them on our social media for you to see. Despite these efforts, Robert Fisher has continued to evade capture. In November 2021, 20 years after the murders, Robert Fisher was officially removed from the FBI's top 10 most wanted list. According to the FBI, it wasn't because they think he's dead or no longer a threat, because the top 10 list is constantly evolving. They need to make room for newer, higher priority cases. But Robert is still wanted by the FBI and is considered a fugitive. Before we wrap up, I want to take a moment to talk about Mary, Brittany, and Bobby. Mary was described by her family as a loving and involved mom who frequently volunteered at her kids' school. Her father, Bill Cooper, said Mary loved those kids so much. Brittany was 12 years old and already an honor student. She was intelligent, studious, active in sports like basketball and soccer. Bobby, just 10 years old, very close to his sister and loved to draw. This family didn't deserve what happened to them, and it's heartbreaking that their killer, likely their own husband and father, is still out there. So where is Robert Fisher? Is he alive, living off the grid, or hiding in plain sight under a new identity? Did he die in the wilderness shortly after the murders and his body was never found? Personally, I think he was still alive. There's just too much evidence that suggests he planned this and knew exactly how to disappear. The idea that he could be living among us, maybe even in your neighborhood, killing. Of course, if you believe you've seen Robert Fisher or have any information about his whereabouts, um, please contact your local FBI office or the nearest American embassy or consulate. And with that, let me know your theories in the comments section below, what you think happened and where you think Robert Fisher is. Of course, give us a thumbs up if you like the video, hit that subscribe button down below. And of course, if you want to support the channel, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/TCNS. As always, your support helps the channel grow, upgrade equipment, bring in new hosts, pay them, and eventually take this show on the road. As always, your support helps no matter if it's $1, $5, 20, 50, 100. Whatever you give is greatly appreciated and goes directly back into this channel. But as always, you can find us on all major podcast platforms: Google, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods. And of course, thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.